How's it going, everybody? Rob here, and with this video, I wanted to do something really interesting. Well, actually, something that I haven't done in a while, and that is movie reviews. And recently, I went to go watch Ghostbusters Frozen Empire with my wife. Had a grand old time, and I wanted to first talk about the experience, talk about maybe some of the trailers that we got to see, as well as talk about the movie. First off, I should talk about the IMDb stuff for Ghostbusters, at least for this one, because and everything. I basically, like, as soon as I got home, I wrote notes and everything, so it's it's been a lot of fun with like trying to get this all set up, as well as have everything kind of fresh in my mind on how I feel and everything about the movie. So okay, so it was directed by Gil Kenan. Hopefully I said that correctly. Written by Gil Kenan, Jason Reitman and Ivan Reitman, starring Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, Kumail Nanjiani. Hopefully I said that correctly. Patton Oswalt. Hopefully I said that correctly. I'm sorry. Celeste O'Connor, Logan Kim, Emily Ale Lind, James Acaster, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, William Alfredon, Shelley Williams, and many, many, many others. Now going back to my notes, because like I said, I had written notes for everything. I guess if anything, I want to talk about the theater first, because like I said, my wife and I, we went to watch this movie at a theater on Sunday. We went to this place called The Lux, which is a sort of restaurant theater combo, which is really nice. They had a variety of different food. I mean, I will say that the selection for food is not large, but for a place like that, you'd probably expect that they only would have a few things. My wife ended up getting the spicy barbecue chicken flatbread pizza that they had over there, as well, and myself, I had the tri-tip cheesesteak sandwiches with garlic fries, which was so good. Instead of we got that instead of the usual popcorn, candy, soda, that whole shebang. But we both enjoyed our food for the most part. And after we got our food, the trailers came on. One of the trailers that came on was Twister. Now I gotta say this, because I thought this was kind of funny. For those who don't know, or no, sorry, it's called Twisters. And did we really need a sequel to Twister? Like, I mean, I'll be honest. Did we really need a sequel to Twister? And from what I remember from that film, I mean, it was nonsensical for the most part. The next one was The Fall Guy, where it follows around a stuntman who apparently gets caught up in some shady dealings and proceeds to have to run for his life, so to speak. And I guess with him, being a stuntman, he knows a lot of stuff in terms of like combat and so on. So there's that. I might check it out just for the fun of it. For some reason, it kind of reminded me of like movies like Sahara with Matthew McConaughey. Next one is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I have not not watched any one of these films yet. It's on my to-do list in terms of films, but in terms of like this reboot of Planet of the Apes, I have not touched a single one of them. So eventually I do plan on watching them, but so far my interest has not been piqued in terms of the movies. Let me know what you guys think of them. Love to hear what your thoughts are. Now, going forward to that, let's go ahead and get to this review. Because that was, I think, like the only three trailers that we had. Now, I want to point out, too, that, again, I wrote notes in terms of this review. There's going to be a little bit of spoilers. So, if you guys have not seen the movie, switch off the video, go watch the movie, and then come back if you guys want to continue watching my review. And I want to, I've basically made like 20 points of like to talk about in terms of like the story. So I guess to start us off, the opening, where the movie itself opens up with the the firehouse where the Ghostbusters would reside, and it's like, was it the 1940s, 1900s, and a bunch of firemen show up to this building, which is hosted by a adventurers club, where as soon as the firemen get to the building, everybody is completely frozen, except for one person who's covered in this brass armor holding this orb made out of brass. So it's quick, and then it goes straight into the next scene, which, by the way, something that I like in terms of like nostalgic factor. I love the fact that they use the old Ghostbusters logo animation in terms of like introducing this movie. And I will say it's one of those things, like, if you pay close attention, you realize, like, oh my gosh, it looks like it still belongs in the 80s. I don't know, like, what they're doing, like, if they changed the resolution, or I don't know, but it looked really good. Like I'm actually, again, like I'm watching an actual, like, older film, almost. We get, following to this, we have, the Spanglers. Our characters, Phoebe, Trevor, their mom, and Gary, who was the substitute teacher now living with them, all running as Ghostbusters. And while they are trying to catch this, what I think it was like the sewer dragon ghost or something. It looked pretty cool. It looked like this giant eel that was flying. It starts off with like kind of like a little bit of like confrontation with Phoebe, because she's wanting to like just go out and catch it, but they're telling her no. But she doesn't listen to them, and she proceeds to activate the artillery seat that the Ecto 1 has, and starts firing away at this ghost, causing damage. They do end up catching it with a pretty freaking cool new little like ghost trap with where for Afterlife they had the RC car trap. Now they have a drone, which I thought was a pretty cool like addition, because it seems like they're progressively upgrading their gear and finding better ways to catch ghosts. So they catch this ghost, causing a ton of damage. I don't want to say how, but they do cause a ton of damage, which inevitably piques the interest of the new mayor of New York. That mayor being, and I'm glad they brought back this character, Peck, from the first Ghostbusters movie. Somehow, some way, he became mayor. and he scolds them about the damages. He scolds them about apparently Phoebe being underage. Not only being underage, but working as a Ghostbuster. But not only that, not getting paid. Like, he's finding ways, like, picking at this whole situation, trying to find ways to, like, finally shut them down. This causes, throughout the movie, this kind of causes kind of an emotional conflict for Phoebe. Because, inevitably, because Peck is, let's face it, he's a prick. They proceed to, like, Phoebe's mom, Gary, they proceed to bench Phoebe from ghostbusting. And again, a lot of emotional conflict with this, because this is what has this whole thing is what had connected her with her not with her father, but her, with her grandfather, Egon. And I will say, in terms of this whole situation, she ends up coming across a more human-like ghost named Melody. And they're in the way. And by the way, the way they set up the first interaction is actually pretty cool, where you have Phoebe go into the park and like play chess, and at first, the pieces on the other side start to like move by themselves. So for some reason, Phoebe thinks that it might be Egon, but no, it's the Melody character. Periodically, she shows up to befriend Phoebe, but we do find out later on that there is a purpose for that, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Going further, reintroducing Ray. He is now working with podcasts to do this online show where they test any spiritual activity on regular day items, which is pretty cool, and a really cool setup for the introduction of the orb, or as I'm going to call it, the Garaka orb. And it's brought in by what's his name? Nadim Razmati, or the character's name is Nadim Razmati, but it's Kumail Nanjiani who brings the thing in, and I love the interaction between him and Ray is pretty funny. When he's at first he's just looking for like $30, and then as like Ray's like, oh man, like this orb is like really freaking like impressive. He's like, oh yeah, actually it's like 40, like just quietly like going, it's like $40. And then when eventually he's all talking about like the writing and stuff, like, oh yeah, $60. It's like, dude, you're pushing it, dude. And then things start to kick off when at one point, to test to see if there's anything really going on with this thing, Ray proceeds to use the device to detect ghosts, and it basically, actually, if anything, if something similar is like when like the power levels for freaking for Dragon Ball Z, when it's too powerful or a person's too powerful, the scouter freaking breaks. That's exactly what happens, and it basically wakes up whatever's inside this orb, and in certain areas of the city, the stream of like ice and freaking frost starts to form and make a trail towards the firehouse where the Ghostbusters reside, and proceeds to in some way start to damage the containment unit where all the ghosts have been held. This due to what's going on with with this old containment unit, especially since the 70s or 80s, they've literally been just stuffing ghosts in here without thinking what to do next. We are introduced to the second facility that apparently Winston buys, and I will say this was cool, like especially since now like you have Winston being kind of a businessman. and also like still like having that heart of a Ghostbuster. He's like, what can we do? I mean, we've been catching them. Let's research them. So he buys this aquarium, this I guess large aquarium space, and uses it as a testing facility for not only just new technology for the Ghostbusters, but also testing or experimenting and researching the different ghosts that they capture. And this place that they've created is really really freaking cool, especially when you see like certain like aquariums or certain I guess terrariums, so to speak, that have different ghosts inside of them. You had this like one little scrunched up face little creature that just vomits at you. You had this one that likes darkness, that barely does much in the movie. The only one that really does a lot is what they call the possessor, which basically is this little like ghost that it looks like a spark of red light, and it basically jumps from one object to another, and will periodically just kind of like possess an object, which plays a big role towards the end. But anyway, they all head over to this new facility, also seeing a brand new containment unit, which is what they've been using to store most of the ghosts, and also bringing over the orb. And it's made very clear, made very quickly, that this orb is not only strange but also is unique. And they find out, like, after looking at it for a while and researching, they come to realize that this thing, whatever it is basically attracting the ghosts, like somehow controlling them, like mesmerizing them or hypnotizing them. Like there's a point where you have like a bunch of the like I guess some of the Stay Puft Marshmallow ghosts survived. They're in their own little aquarium, and they put the orb next to the glass, and the ghosts, or the Marshmallow Men, proceed to basically throw themselves onto the window to try to get to this orb. So it's like, something's up. So they continue to do research, and even end up the Stay Puft Marshmallow ghosts survived. They're in their own little aquarium, and they put the orb next to the glass, and the ghosts, or the Marshmallow Men library from the first movie, and I love that they brought that back. Now, something really interesting about the library too is they brought back the librarian, not just librarian, the guy that ran the library. And I like the fact that he makes a comment like, "You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be like 60 feet away, 60 feet from this location." But Ray doesn't listen, so he goes to this. They meet up with this colleague that Ray knows, who has done his research on a variety of different things in the supernatural, and one of them being this orb, which is an orb that has captured a ghost or deity or god or whatever called Garaka, who is this terrifying creature that has the power of frost, that can chill you to the very bone. And I love the backstory, like because they at first they're showing stone carvings, and I like that for the backstory it's played off through these stone carvings, kind of like how you had like in It Chapter 2, where you had the backstory for it coming to Earth played through the Indian artifact. Though I will say, things after hearing a little bit about this thing, things get even more complicated when the possessor somehow, after some malfunctions at the facility 2, is able to escape and follows them to the lab to basically try to capture this wax funnel that was used to summon Baraka when the Adventurers Club first awakened him. and they end up, following it to the outside of the library where one of the stone lions comes to life, and Phoebe has to destroy it, inevitably, giving Peck more ammunition to basically say, nope, Ghostbusters, you're gone. Causing Phoebe to go kind of be more emotionally distressed, like thinking, oh my gosh, this, like, I don't know what to do now. And there's a point where, this ghost, the Melody Ghost, comes back and again continues to befriend her, talking about, some of the perks of being a ghost, and they go back and forth between that. And one of the things that I forgot to mention early on is they found a way to remove ghosts from everyday items. So at one point, Phoebe mentions that she would like to experience what to be like a ghost, but in order to do it, it would be kind of risky. So they go to this machine, the very machine that is supposedly supposed to awaken or basically pull ghosts from everyday objects, and basically pulls her soul, her spirit, her ghost out of her body and puts it on a timer for 2 minutes. But that gives it just enough time for Phoebe, unfortunately, because now she's a ghost, to be controlled by the orb, by Baraka. And by saying this chant, well, not just her saying the chant, but her body, he's able to escape. And right off the bat, we are shown that he may have been a bigger villain than Gozer. Because, holy crap, we have Lucky, who's like the only one there. And she tries to use the proton pack on him. And he basically freezes the beam, or the streams, from the proton pack. Like, it does nothing to this creature. It takes off. Doesn't kill Lucky, because for some reason I thought Lucky was going to die in this. They kind of played it off like that in the trailer. But anyways, they continue with... where do I... Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I gotta talk about that. Because, again, in the trailer, they kind of played it off that, Lucky might have died. But she doesn't. And I'm sure a lot of people were thinking that too. Like somebody was gonna die. But anyway, after this whole situation, the ghost, Graka, proceeds to go around New York, finding anything that mentions something called the Firemaster. Now, it's introduced that apparently these Firemasters are individuals who could basically have a spiritual power where they can control fire and would be the perfect weapon against creatures like Baraka. And apparently the character Nadim is the last Firemaster, and he's a descendant of one of the people that was summoned by the Adventures Club to summon Baraka. So that's a lot of fun. So this creature proceeds to go to anywhere that mentions a Firemaster and proceeds to kill them. Eventually getting to Nadim's apartment, with Nadim not being there, thankfully, and finding the source of his power, his horns. Because it mentions in the back, before I forget, it mentions in the backstory that in order to weaken them, they had to take away his horns, which were the source of his power. So things are getting bad. New York begins to freeze over, and it's made very clear that Graka wants to break open the containment unit and release all the ghosts so he can control them and use them as an army to basically take down humanity. All of our characters, all of the past Ghostbusters and the current ones, proceed to get ready. Phoebe also is forced to come back into this. She actually comes up with a really cool idea that, since brass has been apparently in this universe for Ghostbusters is a spiritually charged metal that's used for, certain ritual rites or whatever. She upgrades her own proton pack by taking the I think it was like the reactor coils or whatever it's called. I know somebody's gonna correct me, but correct me if I'm wrong. What it is? They're the coil part in the backpack version of the proton pack, and dips it in brass, thinking that if the orb was able to contain Baraka, then maybe by combining brass to her proton pack, that might add a little bit of an edge. And as things are getting worse and worse, Baraka shows up. Containment unit does break, releasing all the ghosts. All the Ghostbusters are, trying to fend off this creature, only to be pinned down and almost frozen to death. Phoebe shows up with her souped up brass freaking proton pack. And what's really cool is when she activates it, the sparks are kind of like in a greenish color. And the stream itself, whereas usually the stream for the proton packs are I would say a blue and red. For hers, it's more of a green and yellow. And almost, I would say the stream itself or the power that comes from this is very volatile. And it does have an effect on Baraka, which gives them a little bit of an edge. And it helps too that the Nadim guy also is able to master his power. Now, certain things I want to talk about. I don't want to. I want to leave it out. But first, Slimer is in the movie. He actually saves one of the characters. You don't want to say who. I don't want to say how. It's a funny way. It's a funny thing, and it kind of reminded me of another movie. But getting towards the end game, because they're able to basically pin down Baraka, and the Ghostbusters are trying to figure out how to take this guy down. Realizing, though, that now that the containment unit is emptied, they think, if we do this and that, like Ray's kind of doing the techno babble, that if we do this and that, we could turn it into a giant trap that could hold Baraka. And one of the really cool moments, especially with Vakeman, Bill Murray's character, is for the first time, he tells Ray, just do it, I trust you. It's dude, that's the first time he's ever said that at all to Ray in the entire, line of the films. So, cool. So, yeah, they turn into a giant trap and they capture Baraka. Basically freeing the world from, another ghost god apocalypse. Now, getting towards the end, Peck comes back and everybody of New York shows up. And I love the ending where Peck is about to try to throw the book at him, but everybody's they're chanting their names. They're chanting Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters. And you have the news people hey, Mayor Peck, what's your thoughts on the Ghostbusters? How do you feel about them, once again saving the city? And he's haha, yeah, haha. And even Winston kind of basically shoves it in his face yeah, just so you guys know, Mayor Peck says that we have his full support, and without us, the city would have been long gone. So, it basically, again, at this point, Peck can only say yeah, kind of just save face, because if he said no, he probably would have lost ratings, which I find to be really funny. And even salt on the wound, talking about how Phoebe was the one that saved everybody, and that she is like everybody else a Ghostbuster. So that was a really good moment. It even ends with Trevor this time around instead of Gary. Also, Gary being called Dad. I thought that was a cool moment because throughout the whole film, he's like trying to be not just a friend, but also kind of like a father figure to Phoebe and Trevor. And it's funny when Phoebe, by the end, calls him Dad. I love that. I love that bit so much. And the movie ends. I gotta say, I love this movie. Quite a few nostalgic things. End credit scene had quick thing about the end credit scene. It had a Stay Puft Marshmallow truck being stolen by the Marshmallow Minions, which I thought was hilarious. All in all, great addition. I love this movie. I love some of the jokes. I love some of the lightheartedness. I love some of the nostalgia that is brought back from previous films to this one. I would say that with some of the characters, it almost looks practical for the most part, which I love the fact that they intertwine a lot of practical effect to CGI, where it seems like some of the ghosts, some of the creatures look like that they might be there. But all in all, really good film. Really, really good film. Okay, so I don't think there's not much else I can say about this movie other than go watch it. I'm sorry that my review itself has been very spoiler heavy, but for the most part, I was trying to figure out the best way to talk about it, and what better way to really talk about it. Again, if you guys have not seen the movie and watched my review anyways, go watch it. Just watch the movie. I honestly, I would say I enjoyed it. I'm sure you'll have certain people say they didn't, but to each his own. But for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. And I'll see you guys next video.